All right, good evening. This is a review of last night's feature presentation from May the 8th, 2025. This was picked by XXX Duck Meat XXX, who avoided leprosy on the Contamination 1980 selection and went with Starship Live 2025. This is my yearly check-in to see how Starship featuring Mickey Thomas is doing on their yearly tour. And it's good to see that they're still around and still doing a pretty dang good job. So this one's starring lead singer Mickey Thomas, the only original member of Starship, which started in 1985, and drummer Daryl Verduccio, who is the longest tenured member of Starship besides Mickey. He goes back to, and he's not original, but he goes back to 1992. So he goes back a long ways. He's been with Mickey the longest of any of his band members currently on tour. The second longest tenured is keyboardist Phil Bennett, who's been there since like 1995, 1996. So he's like going on 30 years now. Bassist Jeff Adams has been there since around 2002. And this also stars John Roth, who has been there since the mid 2010s. He's the lead guitarist. He was formerly of Black Oak, Arkansas, and in the late 80s, and then Winger in the 90s. So John Roth is here on lead guitar. He has been with Mickey Thomas's Starship since the mid 2010s. And then Jeff Adams is the bass player. He has been there. Going back to John Roth, he replaced Mark Abrahamian, who died of a heart attack suddenly back in, I think, 2013 or so. Maybe before that. So Jeff Adams, the bass player, is in this, and he has been with Starship since roughly, I think, maybe around the same time as John Roth. So, no, longer. He's been with them longer. So maybe like 2000 and 2002 or so. Okay. All right. So we also have Chelsea Foster, who is the new backup and kind of lead singer in the band. So they dismissed their lead singer back in 2021, and then replaced her with someone named Kyan Coe for like a few years, and then she was replaced. So they've kind of been through some of these carbon copy singers that look a lot alike. Stephanie Calvert was the one that had been with them for about 15 years until she was removed and then replaced by Kyan Coe. And now they have Chelsea Foster, who has been with them less than a year. The performance was exactly 3 months ago on February the 8th, 2025 in Miami, Florida. It's an indoor concert. It's the night before. It's a Saturday. It's the night before Super Bowl 59. Mickey alludes to this at one point and says he's rooting for the Eagles because they have a lot of University of Georgia players, which I guess makes sense. He's a Georgia native, and I think he said something like, "Aren't people sick of the Chiefs?" So there is some Super Bowl chat during this concert. The set list I like this set list. It's pretty good. Starts with "Wild Again," which was a song from the Top Gun soundtrack in 1988. And this works really well as an opener. It's great that they've put this into the set list now, because you never saw it before with Starship. It's one of their best songs. So this is really good. They did a really good job on this. It was bang up performance. The second song was "Chain" from Freedom at Point Zero, 1979. This one is just okay live. It's still pretty good, but it's just sort of expected, and I would say it was pretty average. I would say the performance wasn't that great. Now the third song is one that is from Jefferson Starship Nuclear Furniture, 1984. Their final album before the division. And this was a top 20 hit called No Way Out, written by Ina and Peter Wolf. This one used to be, when I've seen them like 20 years ago or so, this one was always in the set list, No Way Out. And it was always really good. And then in recent years, it got peeled out of the usual set list. They just kind of moved away from it. Now they've gotten back into it. I would say this was the weakest. It's probably the weakest moment in the entire show. There was something about the vocals that they were very demanding of Mickey's voice, and he wasn't quite up to the task of the vocals here. I'm saying that unbiased because I'm a big fan of Mickey, but this was, for some reason, I think he was struggling a little bit to hit those notes, and there's a real high note on the original studio recording at the very end that he didn't even bother to go to. So that was disappointing. It's one of the highlights of the song, and he just sort of stayed away from it. So that was a weak moment. And then they followed that up with Sarah, and this was a huge turn because Mickey Thomas on Sarah, and he had a nice little introduction about it, and he seemed right at home singing this from start to finish. He did an excellent job on Sarah. It was much better. It's much better in this live performance than even the studio recording. So that was a nice little turnaround from No Way Out to Sarah. And it's kind of fitting that they did No Way Out and then Sarah, because I've always thought of No Way Out as being a prequel to Sarah, and it's written by the same people, Ina Wolf and Peter Wolf. The next song went back to Nuclear Furniture with their other hit from Nuclear Furniture, the 1984 Jefferson Starship album, and this is called Laying It on the Line, which is not even in my top like 25, 30 favorite Jefferson Starship songs. That was a big hit. I know Yosef is a huge fan of this song. He talks about it a lot. I've just never been a fan of this song. So that one, however, when they do this live in the year 2025, it's still really good. So this works really well live. So I will give it a thumbs up for Laying It on the Line. And then the next song, they took it down to a ballad, and this song is called Set the Night to Music, which has not been typically in their set lists for many years, but recently, especially since having these female lead singers, they've put this one in. And this was not even a hit for Starship. This is the album that it's from. It's called No Protection, 1987. It was a single from this album, Set the Night to Music, and it was a Diane Warren written song, and she also wrote the song Nothing's Gonna Stop Us Now, which was a #1 hit. But Set the Night to Music was, I think, one of their last singles from No Protection, and it marked the end of the Mickey Thomas and Grace Slick kind of duet thing. I think it was the last kind of duet that they did, and you listen to this live in 2025 with Mickey Thomas and Chelsea Foster, the female singer, doing this, and it comes off very, very good. It sounds very good, and it sounds like something where you wonder why this wasn't a hit for them. Maybe the production wasn't what it should have been. But Mickey did, before singing this, did mention how it was a hit for another band called or a duet, Roberta Flack and Maxie Priest. I think he only said Maxie Priest, though. He might have gotten that one that part wrong, but that was a top 10 hit for them. So they took the Starship song and made it a top 10 hit. But the Starship version appears at the end credits of a very underrated 1988 comedy called Vice Versa with Judge Reinhold and Fred Savage. Check that one out if you can find it free on YouTube. Really good, really funny comedy. Vice Versa. So that song is on there, Starship. At the end, I think they were trying to maybe do something with it the same way they did with Mannequin, Nothing's Gonna Stop Us Now, 1 year previously. But Set the Night to Music, excellent live in 2025. The next little segment is one that I'm not a big fan of. This is when Mickey starts talking about how the band has a long history and we're going to go back to its roots. And so it's this whole Jefferson Airplane little segment where he lets the female singer Chelsea Foster and the female singers before her would do the same thing, where she does the full White Rabbit song and then Somebody to Love back to back. Not a big fan of this little segment. If you're gonna do talk about the history and go back to the roots, I think this might work if you just do just White Rabbit, which is a better song than Somebody to Love. Do White Rabbit and then do a song from the Jefferson Starship pre-Mickey Thomas era, 1974 to 1978. So like do something kind of short like Count on Me. And they have done this before and it works fairly well. Do White Rabbit, Count on Me. But they didn't. They just do the White Rabbit, Somebody to Love. And I'm not a big fan of them doing this. It's kind of unnecessary. It's just kind of, I feel like it's just an excuse to give a showcase to the female lead singer and play a couple songs that the audience knows very well. The loophole here is Somebody to Love was, though it was not a Jefferson Starship song, it was not a Starship song, it was a song that Mickey Thomas recorded solo in 1977 prior to joining Jefferson Starship. It's kind of a loophole that allows him to play Somebody to Love. All right, and then they go back to Starship, and the next song is called another one from No Protection, 1987, the #1 hit, Nothing's Gonna Stop Us Now. I've heard this one sound very well with the previous lead singers, with the duet. This was pretty weak, and I think I didn't think this sounded very good live. I was surprised at that. It seemed like they could have just easily made it sound good, but it wasn't. So the next one is Fooled Around and Fell in Love, 1976, from Mickey's time with Elvin Bishop Band. And this one's still awesome. I love the John Roth guitar solo, that real bluesy southern rock, and Mickey's still nailing the notes. So where he failed on No Way Out, he really hit it on Fooled Around and Fell in Love, which is the song that he said, quote, changed my life forever. It was a top 10 hit a couple of years before he joined Jefferson Starship. And then the next song was probably my favorite Jefferson Starship song with Mickey, or in general, Stranger. And this one is I liked how it wasn't exactly like the studio version. I like how it was real drum driven. I thought that was a really cool kind of twist on it. A lot of this drum, and it gave it this good like urgency that I felt the song sometimes calls for. And of course, probably the best guitar solo in Jefferson Starship history is on this. And that was another little switch they did. You had Mickey on acoustic guitar. They repeated the second verse. So they had like two different guitar solos, one with like Mickey and John Roth, and then they repeated the second verse, which they had already sang. Then they did the guitar solo again, but it was just John Roth doing the classic one that you remember that Craig Chaquiso did on the 1981 album Modern Times. All right, and then they did the song. The next one was "It's Not Enough" from 1989. "Love Among the Cannibals." This is a song that they've never done when I saw them live. They haven't done very often live in the current like lineup of Starship, and now they're starting to kind of bring it back. This was a top 20 hit in 1989. It was the last Starship hit, and it's my favorite Starship song. Because it's my favorite Starship song, that made this one of the most disappointing parts of this whole feature presentation, because it wasn't very good. I felt like the drums were crashing and kind of loud. The Mickey's voice didn't seem to be up to it like it was on the, like you hear him usually do this song. So this was a big disappointment for me. There's better live versions of this in recent years. So It's Not Enough. Pretty disappointing. And then they had, the closer was "We Built This City." And thankfully Mickey doesn't go into this whole dialogue of apologizing for it anymore. He does a quick thing and they do it. And this is Mickey just having the time of his life. He loves playing this, and I think everyone loves it too who's in the band, and that's what makes it fun to watch live. So I thought this came off fairly well. It's overplayed, but it's so fun to see them doing this in 2025, and Mickey's played it a million times, but he still like loves it. So that really is a great thing to see. So that was the end, and the encore song was a good choice. So this was "Find Your Way Back" from Modern Times, 1981. "Find Your Way Back," written by former lead guitarist Craig Chaquico, and it was it was a great choice. I think it's a great closing song. You have this long keyboard intro with Phil Bennett. He's kind of up there by himself doing this little keyboard thing. It's not too long, but it sounds like the beginning of it sounds like the encore is going to be "Winds of Change." You can hear a little bit of "Winds of Change" in the keyboards there. Like maybe that's going to be the song, and that would have been cool too. That was a Jefferson Starship. That was the only Jefferson Starship or Starship album that Mickey was on that was not represented in this set list. "Winds of Change" in 1982. And I thought it would. They didn't do "Winds of Change," so they didn't do "Be My Lady," which he does every now and then. But I thought it was a great choice to have "Find Your Way Back" and then come out one by one. However, the execution was not very good. It was a little disappointing. I don't like the way they repeat the chorus at the end. There's a thing they do that's not very good. So a little weak, but I think they could have done that and then taken, say, like "Somebody to Love" as an encore, as a second song in the encore. I think that would be a good choice instead of having it up there with "White Rabbit." I think you pull it down to the encore. Would be pretty good. "It's Not Over Till It's Over" was not on this. That's also on "No Protection," 1987. So "It's Not Over Till It's Over" would be a fun, fitting title for an encore, even though I'm not a big fan of the song. So I thought this set list was really good. I thought they've mixed it up a little bit from recent years. I think this is a good one to stick with. I would go with some of the changes that I mentioned, but this is Mickey Thomas here, the lead singer, and he's 75 and he's still the vocals are incredible. They're incredible. They're not. I mean, he's lost some of his fastball, and I did mention a couple of the songs that he didn't quite, hit the mark on, like "No Way Out" and "It's Not Enough." But the rest of it was, particularly Sarah. He was just feeling it on Sarah, and he was feeling it on "Fooled Around and Fell in Love." And "Stranger" is pretty demanding, but he nailed that one too. So very, very great job on Mickey on this. Seems to be doing very well physically and everything. But this is Craig Chiquiso, former lead guitarist, who's recently been suing Starship and Jefferson Starship. And this is Grace Slick, who's still living. And this is Donnie Baldwin, who is currently playing in Jefferson Starship. So they just played at the Beacon Theater here in Richmond, Virginia. That's last night's feature presentation. Good to see Starship still with Mickey Thomas. Still, doing a really good job with their live shows. Check out, they have a lot of dates, so check it out on starshipcontrol.com. If you want to go see them live, great show. All right, guys, that's last night's feature presentation, Starship Live 2025. All right, landed on the line, baby.